Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Navis Nobilite. I am Captain Zelnick, and I am so sorry for all of the delays in getting videos out, but as one would expect, it's the holidays, so honestly, don't expect a huge amount of content between now and the new year. Hopefully, in the new year, I'll be able to do more. I know I've gotten a lot of things like requests to things like full play breakdowns and battle reports. I'm going to try to get more of that done come the new year. I'm going to try to get more content out. Obviously, due to real life, I am heavily distracted, but I will do my absolute best to get you guys the content that you want. I have now achieved 600 subscribers, which kind of blows my mind. Thank you all so much. You are all the best, and thank you for helping keep Battlefleet Gothic alive. I'm doing everything I can on my end. Hopefully, everybody else will be able to do more on their end. Also, everybody should go over to James Waffle's Twitch account and his YouTube channel to look at his amazing painting videos. He's going to be doing some stuff with some Battlefleet Gothic ships that I sent him. He also is, dealing with a great deal of life stress right now with the death of his wife. So go over there, subscribe, help him out, all that good stuff. But today we are going to do something that, again, the Discord channel has decided to torture me with, which is to teach you all how to make a Tyranid Hive fleet list. Now, I'm going to make this abundantly clear. I do not own a Tyranid fleet. I have never owned a Tyranid fleet. I have never built a Tyranid fleet until now. I have only fought against them, and generally speaking, get an idea of what works and what doesn't work based on how many times my ass got kicked by them. And to be brutally honest, Tyranid fleets have a tendency of turning specific fleets into fertilizer. Some fleets are better fighting against Tyranids, some fleets are worse. For example, if you're Eldar, you're not going to have a good time against Tyranids. Namely, the feeder tentacles will screw your day. Good and hard, I would point out. But we are going to effectively learn this together. Now, there are two kinds of Hive fleets that I will be building with you today. They are the two kinds of fleets that I personally have really encountered. And I want to see if I can recreate them as best I possibly can in a 1,500-point fleet list. Now, obviously, go and watch all my videos on the rules of the Tyranids, how their weapon systems and their ships work. Obviously, it's very important. And critically, I am going to be building this fleet in what I like to call a vanilla format, which means I am assuming that you are not going to be using these upgrades in a fleet, because the issue with these upgrades, the evolution of the Hive Mind upgrades, they require player consent, which generally speaking, in my experience, means, sure, bro, go ahead and use them. But I'm always going to assume that the answer is going to be no. And if I were playing against them, I have played against both the vanilla, which is no evolution of the Hive Mind, and I have played against with evolution of the Hive Mind, and the differences are dramatic. Evolution of the Hive Mind can turn a rather dull fleet that is not necessarily hard to defeat into an unstoppable bulwark of nightmares, because you can have, Hive ships with 16 hull points and the capacity to simply eat you alive from a distance. It's horrifying. But you're going to use the Hive fleet list. The Vanguard fleet list will be in a separate video because it functions very differently. Namely because it is a entire fleet of nothing but escorts. So bear that in mind. Now, okay, we're going to go over here and look at fleet command. Now, the Tyranid player may opt to include the direct influence of the Hive Mind in lieu of having a fleet commander. These take the form of Hive Mind Influence rerolls and Hive Mind Imperative. Hive Mind Influence reroll works in the same way a normal fleet commander rerolls work. Hive Mind Imperative causes a command check. Or leadership test to be passed automatically. The decision to use the Hive Mind Imperative must be taken before the dice is rolled. Now, a maximum of one Hive Mind Influence reroll can be purchased per Hive ship, and a maximum of one Hive Mind Imperative can be purchased per 2 Hive ships
So single hive mind imperatives may be purchased as long as the fleet contains at least one hive ship. So you can have a bare minimum between 1 and 2 hive mind imperatives. You can take one. Up to when you hit 4, you may purchase a second hive mind imperative. These basically take up the position of the commander, and they are very, very important for your fleet. Yes, they're expensive, but you have to understand your ships are functioning off of the instinctive behavior table. And the instinctive behavior table in Battlefleet Gothic, depending on the terrain on the board, can be punishing. It can be everything from I don't mind the hive mind, the influence table, to if there's a single planet on the board, your entire game is ruined because all of your ships decide I don't want to go eat the enemy ships, I want to go eat the planet. So bear that in mind. Hive mind influences and imperatives are more important than the standard fleet command because there are situations where that table will say, no, you're not doing what you want to do. You're doing what the instincts tell you to do. And the instincts say, go and eat a planet, and not the enemy. So let us remember that. Now, this very first Hive fleet is going to be a pretty standard hive ship heavy fleet. These are very, very common because hive ships are generally the center of the entire fleet for every player, and it's very much focused around hive ships and escorts. So each hive ship allows a Tyranid player to purchase 6 to 12 escort ships and 0 to 2 capital ships. So they're 200 points base for a leadership 8 hive ship. You can increase that to leadership 9. Now, I'm going to have for our very first hive ship, okay, a 240 point hive ship. This is basically going to be the big hive ship, okay? Now, the hive ships are build battleships. You build them the way you want them. Now, the way that I have always encountered them, and a lot of people may be like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you even do such a thing? The prow weapons are boarding torpedoes. And you're wondering, why would you have boarding torpedoes? They suck. The answer is I can a lot of them. I don't care if I only get like one hit on a salvo. I can launch unlimited numbers of them because I'm a hive ship, and my reloading is always going to happen regardless of what other people may think. So we're going to take the boarding torpedoes on the hive ship. Okay, one thorax weapon. The answer is going to be the launch base. Why? Because launch base and assault boats. I am going to flood the board with assault boats and fighters. I don't care if they're slow. It doesn't matter if they're slow. I'm going to have so many things on the board, I will need a spreadsheet and a doctoral student in order to maintain control over everything. Because in the end, I never want the enemy to be able to launch anything that can stop what I'm about to do to me. So what are we doing? One thorax weapon, launch base. Plus 20 points. So what do you think we're going to do the port and starboard weapon? Guess what? Up to 3. Launch base. 60 points for that. So this thing is going to be out non-stop. Just tons of assault boats and fighters. I'm going to be intercepting things, and I'm going to be eating the ships alive. Now, could say capital ships, but in reality, we're going to go right down to the escort. Why? Because escorts are cheap. They are dirt freaking cheap. Now, we have the options, of course, of Krakens and drones. Now, this first squadron, I'm going to take Krakens. 25 points, and I'm going to give them massive claws. Why? Massive claws. Because Krakens are hard to kill, and massive claws do amazing things against my enemy ships. So what's going to be? It's going to be 35 points, and I can take up to 12 of them in a squad. Okay? So, actually, yeah, 6 to 12. Let me just double check that. Escorts, it may include between 6 and 12 escort class ships for each hive ship. So they can go into humongous squadrons. But again, actually, now that I think about it, massive claws are great on Kraken, but so are feeder tentacles and so is bioplasma. But I'm going to still go with a squad, I'm going to say of 6. Okay? Massive claws. Because massive claws. That's 35 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're sitting now at 555. I can take 6 more. So I'm going to take, guess what? 6 more, but I'm going to give them bioplasma discharge. Because these things actually have the durability to get close and actually do things. Now, look at this. We could take boarding torpedoes on these things if we wanted. But Krakens really are designed to get in close and survive in close proximity. So 35 plus 35, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 765. So we have 12 Krakens. That's 12 escorts right off the bat. Okay? 12 off the bat right there. Ain't it great? Okay, we're going to go right back up here to our Hive ships, because guess what? We're going to take another Hive ship. Now, this one is only going to be Leadership 8. I'm going to save the 40 points. Okay, that's 200. I'm going to use that 40 points and buy 1 Hive Mind Imperative. This means, no matter what, if something goes, if I need a ship to do a thing, it's going to do the thing at least once. Okay, now, what am I going to give it? Guess what? Yeah, first, same as the last verse, a whole lot louder and a whole lot worse. So this one's going to have the boarding torpedoes. It's going to have the launch phase. It's going to have even more launch phase. So we're sitting at 1,110. Now, in this case, I need a lot more escorts. So I'm going to actually, in this case, take escort drones. Lots of them. And I'm going to take feeder tentacles. I'm going to take 12 escorts with feeder tentacles. That's 15 points a pop. Woo. Okay. So let me actually do the math in my head. 15 points a pop. 10, that's 150. That's 100. That's only 180 points. 12 of them. So look at that. 1290. So I have 2 Hive ships. I have 24 escorts on the board. I have feeder tentacles up the yin yang. I have massive claws and bioplasma. So I'm sitting now at about 210 points. I could take another Hive ship just to kind of sit there. But instead, why don't we actually use that and take a cruiser? Now, the cruiser is an interesting creature because you either make it a berserker vessel, which gets up close and does terrible things to the enemy, or you can make it a mini Hive ship. So this is what my most common opponent, a guy back in Chicago, used to take. He took a cruiser, so we have 80 points. Boom, 1 cruiser. What did he do with it? Boarding torpedoes. Boarding torpedoes. And guess what? In the port and starboard weaponry, he took pyro acid, so plus 30. So another ship just sitting there, disgorging ordnance that I, as the player, as the Imperial, Tau, Eldar, whatever, have to deal with. And if I don't, I have a pyro acid battery, which causes fires on everything that it causes a crit on, just giving me nonstop headache. Now, we're at 1420. All right? We have 80 points to spare. Now, I can't take a cruiser. I can't take any more escorts. So I already have a Hive Mind Imperative. So what I'm going to do is take 30 points of Hive Mind Influence and then another 30 points for Hive Mind Influence. I'm at 1480. That's not too bad for a Tyranid fleet. It is a mean, nasty, awful fleet. Now, here's another thing that I can do. This is the cool thing about the Tyranid fleet. I can start the game with torpedo markers and assault boat markers on the board. So look at that. I can have an assault boat marker and strength 4 torpedo. Boom. 20 points already on the board. 1,500 point fleet. Done. This is a vicious fleet. Just to go over it again. 2 Hive ships. 1 is LD8, 1 is LD9. I have the Hive Mind Imperative and 2 Hive Mind Influence. I have 6 Krakens with massive claws. 6 Krakens with bioplasma discharge. And 12 standard escort drones. Okay. With feeder tentacles. As you can see, fleet must have at least 6 escort drones for every Hive ship. I have met the standard. Okay. So here we are with a really nasty fleet. This is just mean on every level because you are filling the board with hate. It's going to be a mass of fighters and assault boats and boarding torpedoes that is going to overwhelm the enemy. It doesn't matter if those boarding torpedoes don't hit every time. You're going to have so many of them on the board, they're going to do stuff. And the Tyranid hit and run attack is vicious. The feeder tentacles, the moment they touch an enemy ship, start turning it off in ways that are painful to any player. If you're a Necron player or an Eldar player, you're going to have a real hard time against this fleet. Now, the fleets that do the best against fleets like this are the Imperial Navy. Why? Nova cannons. Nova cannons are the great Tyranid raid gun. It will simply go and it's gone because Tyranid ships are very, very slow. Now, the next fleet that I'm going to make for you all is one that's a little less focused on Hive ships. So let's clear our calculator. We have to have a Hive ship. Required. Okay? Why? Because how else are we going to get Hive Mind Influence and Hive Mind Imperative? Okay? And we need the Hive ship in order to take escorts. So, and trust me, all of these things are going to have escorts. I'm going to take a Leadership 9 Hive ship, so 240 points. Now, I'm going to give it the same thing as I gave it before, which is boarding torpedoes, launch base, launch base. Okay? So, the boarding torpedo is plus 25. The thorax weapon is going to be plus 20. And to the 3 port and starboard, which is going to be plus 60. Okay, that is our base of the fleet. This is our Hive ship. Now, I am, instead of just dumping Hive ships, I'm going to take more cruisers, add more escorts if I can. Now, let's start with the required six escort drones for my Hive ship. These are going to be feeder tentacle ships, and I'm always probably going to end up taking feeder tentacle ships in this regard, simply because the feeder tentacle escort drones, while they are slow, they are irritating, and they give people headaches, which is a good thing. And I'm going to take 12 of them, again. So, 100 plus 180. God, those things are cheap. Now, you may also take 6 to 12 more, which I'm actually going to do in this regard. I am going to take, I'm actually in this case going to take a squad of Krakens. These ones are going to have feeder tentacles, because the point of this fleet is disabling the enemy fleet. So that's going to be 30 points, and that's going to be a squad of 6, 30 by 6. That's another 180 points. Hooray, I can do math. So that is Krakens with feeder tentacles. Okay? Now, we're going to go up to our cruiser. We now have, just for reference, we are now sitting on 18 escorts. And we're only at 705. Okay, now, our standard Tyranid cruiser is 80 points. Now, what am I going to do with this guy? I'm going to make the Gravitron. The Gravitron is a cruiser with massive claws, plus massive claws, plus bioplasma discharge. So basically, this thing is meant to rush screaming down the table after the enemy's ships have been disabled with assault boats and feeder tentacle attacks off the escorts, to go up to an enemy ship and then begin to eat it alive. Okay? It's going to shoot with the bioplasma, and then it's going to move into board and claws. Now remember, each set of massive claws is a swing with a lance attack. So massive claws is 2 swings. 2 massive claws is 4 swings. All you need are 2 hits for the massive claws to latch onto the enemy vessel. And that's what you want to do, because then you want to board. So that is our first cruiser, and I'm going to actually do another cruiser. I'm going to make a second Gravitron. Okay? So our second Gravitron is going to be 80 plus 5 plus 5 plus. So again, these are stupid cheap cruisers, but they are so fighty. Now, we are at a bit of a limit. We can only take 2 cruisers per Hive ship. Okay? So now, and we did take 12 escort drones. This gives us the flexibility to purchase another Hive ship, which we will do a standard LD8. Okay? We are not, at this point, going to be dumping points again into escorts, and I'm going to make this Hive ship a little bit different. This Hive ship is going to be prow weapon, pyroacid batteries. Okay? So plus 30. Thorax weapon, pyroacid battery. And the port and starboard weapon, pyroacid batteries. So that's 30, 45 points. Now, this is because the salvo of the pyroacid batteries out of this ship is devastating and has good range, which is pretty rare in the Tyranid list. But this is a reasonably expensive ship, but it has good firepower, which is very important. Yeah, it doesn't have launch bays, but this is really meant for fire support. You can really hit something from a good long way away. Now we're going to add more cruisers. So here we are, another cruiser at with 80 points. Now this guy I'm going to make a little bit different. This guy I am going to give on the prow feeder tentacles 10, and the thorax weapon I'm going to give feeder tentacles, and the prow weapon is going to be a pyro. It's actually going to be the bioplasma discharge. Now, why am I doing this? Because I don't need to be in any sort of concern about moving this ship. It's just going in and it's going to be hitting the enemy ship with bazillions of hit and run attacks and automatic damage. You know, it is, and also it is going to fly cover for my massive claw ship. Because remember, when Tyranid ships get crippled, they lose a lot of their abilities. So I want to have kind of a flexible, disposable number of ships. So my massive claw ships obviously are more disposable because they're cheaper. Feeder tentacle ships are a little more fighty, so if they focus on the massive claws, functioning as a distraction carnifex, which is what they're really meant to be, my feeder tentacle ones can go in and do a lot of hurt too. But we can add another ship, and we have the points for it. So let's add another ship. Now this one I'm going to make, again, a little bit differently. This one is going to be pyroacid batteries. I'm going to give him, just making sure I have the points for it, I'm going to give him boarding torpedoes. And finally, another pyroacid battery, giving me another good, solid gunnery platform. Actually, what I'm going to do, let me go back. Can I keep in that? Yeah, I'm going to change those boarding torpedoes to massive claws for one important reason. Now that I am at 1470, I can purchase a Hive Mind Influence roll. And I'm at 1500 points exactly. So there is your second Tyranid fleet. One focused on the Hive ships, one focused on the cruisers. Now, remember everybody that Tyranid lists require a lot of skill to use. They are very different. Read the rules in detail. It is very important that you do so, because if it turns out that your enemy knows more about your fleet than you, you'll lose every time. You need to know exactly how your fleet works. You need to know all the rules. You have to be also prepared to move a lot of little tokens, because in this situation, the Zerg rush is real, and you have to be able to keep track of so many little counters in this fleet. Okay? Fighters, assault boats, boarding torpedoes, all of your escort. You can make a fleet that is entirely like Hive fleet, Hive ships, and nothing but escorts. Okay? Which is kind of what we did in the first one. It's just, these things are nightmares to manage. But they enemy ships alive. They don't care about things like namby-pamby, hollow fields, and they don't really give a damn about, oh, you have living metal. Big deal. They just eat and board you, and they're very good at it. All right, thank you all so much for watching, everyone, and happy NIDSMAS. And as with always, I'll see you all again in the next video.